Yo, Santa people, welcome. Okay, so let's talk about Beabadoobee and her debut album, Fake It Flowers. Now, first of all, let me say this. I have not heard of Beabadoobee until maybe about a week and a half ago. She's been around a little while. She's still a relatively new artist, but, you know, been around a little while. She's been doing a thing, got some videos out, singles, EPs, all that kind of stuff. She's been doing a thing for, I guess, a few years at this point. But, yeah, I found about her about a week and a half ago. And this is an example, to me at least, it's an example of when recommendations are done right. You know, so Netflix are probably the worst when it comes to recommending stuff. Like if you've got Netflix and you know, they recommend stuff based on what they want to push on you, not necessarily what they think you might like. You can watch a whole bunch of documentaries on, I don't know, space travel or whatever, and they'll still recommend you the latest Netflix original series that has nothing to do with space. You know, they're like that, and I get it. It's from a business point of view, it makes sense. I get it. I'm not mad at it, but it effectively means you get recommendations that aren't necessarily what you're looking for. And that's my experience with recommendations in general. They don't really resonate very much with me, but this came along, and you know, for some reason, I don't know, I guess I was just in the mood to try something different. I was like, all right, cool, let me just click on this, and I listened to it, and nearly immediately I was like, okay, it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. So Beabadoobee, she is a British singer with Filipino heritage, and she does, I guess you could call it soft rock, kind of pop rock type music, and it's very reminiscent to me of like 90s kind of soft rock, pop rock, that kind of era. Bands like Blur, bands like Nirvana, you know, maybe not as Nirvana weren't heavy, but you know, they're a little bit more heavier than Beabadoobee. But you know, that kind of sound, that kind of style, it's a very, very 90s style. You know, that's how it sounds to me. And so from there, it was like, okay, cool. I'm all about the 90s. I remember the 90s. I was a young man during the 90s, and during the 90s is when I had a lot of my musical influences coming in during the 90s, from with jungle, heavy metal, soul, a lot of it during the 90s. So yeah, the 90s is very much a special era for me. So things like that remind me of that era. Yeah, you got me. So yeah, this very much reminds me of the 90s music, 90s soft rock, pop rock style music, and but you know, more modern, because you know it is modern. It's 2020 now, and but yeah, I really dig it. I really dig this album, and big up to YouTube Music for recommending something that was actually pretty good, and big up to Beabadoobee for putting out good music. So yeah, let's talk about this album. It's called Fake It Flowers. But yeah, it's a really cool album. It deals a lot with like relationships, you know, love, self-harm comes up as well. But I also feel like it's very metaphorical in her approach. Like a lot of what she talks about, you know, I feel could have been applied to a lot of other different situations. And I guess that's the same for just music in general. But I just get the feeling that this is what she's going for, and I may be wrong, but I get the feeling that although she has ideas of what she's saying in her songs, and you can read like the notes on genius.com. Shout out to genius.com, by the way. I use that a lot these days. I use genius.com so much. But yeah, you can read the notes on what she was talking about when she's done interviews, and what the song was about, and what she meant by this, that, and the other, and that's all great. But I do get the feeling still that the way the songs are written is specifically to be more metaphorical, so that you can get more of that. Because that's the thing about you know, with music, or just say arts really, when you have the choices between being very explicit in your messages and being very metaphorical in your messages. Because you can be very explicit in your messages and get that message across, because that is exactly what you want to say, and there's no questions about it. This is what you're saying, this is clear what you're saying, and that's it. But you do that, and then people who aren't really on that wavelength, or aren't really in that kind of sphere of what you're trying to say, you know, it might kind of just go over their heads, or they might not care too much for it, because, you know, it's just not really for them. But, or you can be a bit more metaphorical, and then that way it means something to everybody. You know, the problem with it being metaphorical, however, is that what you mean as an artist might not always come across. So although, yeah, it's a thing, you can look up these things about what people mean and this, that, and the other, it does give you, I feel it does give you the opportunity to get more out of it, because I think when it comes to songs like this, you get out of it what you put into it. So yeah, so really what I'm trying to say is it's good writing. At least for me, I feel it's good writing, but not to negate when it's more explicit, because that has its purposes. But when it's like this, and I feel it's a bit more metaphorical, I feel like you could always get more of it. It could always mean different things to different people in different times of their life as well. So yeah, really good writing just throughout the album, in my opinion. I really dig it. I really dig the sound. I really dig the writing, the singing. It's a very, very soft voice, very soft voice. Like the type of, like, it's almost like a soul singer type voice, but over, like acoustic guitars and, maybe electric guitars and, a bit more rock. But let me talk about a few of the songs on this album, though. I won't talk about all of them. We might be here a while, but let me talk about just a few songs that stood out to me. So the first one was actually the first song on the album. It's called Care. And I feel like this is dealing with, like, some kind of childhood trauma, just some kind of trauma in her life where somebody's hurt her. By the way, when I say hurt her, I should probably point out that not every song in the album is about her, but you know how artists tend to say I, me, and things like that, but they're not necessarily talking about themselves. So I don't want to say, so when I say her, I just mean her as a singer, not necessarily this actually happened to her in her life, because I don't know that. It might have, it might not have, but the song's about, at least for me, I felt like it was about like dealing with some kind of trauma in her past where somebody's hurt her, and they've done these sort of things to her in the past, and then now they're kind of coming back and pretending like that never happened, like pretending like everything's just a-okay. Perhaps maybe she's got a little fame, little name. People trying to like renege on all the things that they did, but it's like, nah, man, you hurt me, fam. You hurt me, and when you've hurt somebody, you really need to acknowledge that, because you can't change the fact that you hurt them. But if you really are about trying to make amends and trying to be a part of somebody's life in a positive way, then you really have to first acknowledge that you've caused them harm and that the things that you've done or said are just not okay. That's the first step. And even then, you have to accept the fact that just because you acknowledge it and you apologize and all that, they don't have to forgive you. They don't have to invite you back into their lives. They don't have to do that. They are under no obligation to have you back in their lives just because you've seen the light now. It's like, yeah, great, good for you that you've seen the light, that you've, you're better now, that you're doing things the right way, whatever, this, that, and the third. But they don't have to. And if they do, then yeah, don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. Worth It. Let's talk about Worth It. So this was like, I was getting the feeling of like, she's comparing this new guy to the old guy, and looking for reasons to sabotage the relationship. Like, he's a good guy, at least so far he seems like a good guy, but she's kind of looking for reasons to sabotage the relationship, and that could stem from being hurt in the past. I think sometimes when we've been hurt and then we come across, we're trying to get over it, because we've been hurt, we kind of hold on to that a little bit. And when we're looking at, say, the new person or the new thing or the new this, we can sometimes look for reasons for it to fail, look for reasons to sabotage it, and we sometimes do it subconsciously, but we still do it, and that's often a result of being hurt in the past. So that's what I feel is they're trying to deal with, just like that feeling of meeting a new person, but because the old person did this to you, so she's kind of looking for reasons to sabotage it, and she's wondering whether he's worth it, and then trying to tell herself, no, he's not worth it, I don't think you can worth it this time, I don't think you're worth it, even though he might not, the new guy might not necessarily have done anything particularly bad. It's just all that baggage that you carry. So Diet Red, apparently this song is actually about a friend of hers and not actually about her specifically, but it deals with being objectified. Like, she talks about I feel that she's with this person that doesn't necessarily respect her and tries to control her, and then she's talking about just let me dye my hair red, and I guess it's really just trying to break out of that controlling feeling where you feel like somebody's just controlling every aspect of your life, and you're just trying to break out of that and be like, what, I need to do my own thing, I need to dye my hair red, just let me dye my hair red, and just kind of move away from that controlling person, because that's no good for anybody. When somebody's trying to control you, yeah, you can't be with people like that. It's not good for you, it's not good for them really. But it's not good for you to be around somebody who's constantly trying, because you're not being yourself. When somebody else is dictating everything you do, then you're not being you. And when you're not being you, what are you doing? What are you doing? You need to get away. All right, so Charlie Brown. So this is probably one of the most metaphorical songs on the album, in my opinion. It actually deals with self-harm, at least according to the Genius.com bit. Shout out to Genius.com. But yeah, it deals with self-harm. Charlie Brown references the tattoo on her arm, and it's a comic strip where something to do with, what was it, the Snoopies that are the people that represent the people that her loved ones, and that although she's maybe pushing them away, the real ones, the people that she cares about, they're always going to be in her life in some capacity, and it's kind of a reminder of that. And then Together, which is going back to somebody that isn't good for her, crash the car again, so that she's making the same mistakes as before. And I guess similar to the self-harm is that, where you're going back to this thing that hurts you, in this case going back to this person that hurts you, like it's not a good thing, you need to not be there and get away from it, but part of your brain kind of justifies it a little bit, and you keep going back to it. And then similar to Worth It, where that was like trying to move ahead, but again, looking for reasons to sabotage the relationship or sabotage what's going on. I guess it's that same sort of self-harm mentality, where it's like it's not good for you, but part of your brain kind of tries to justify it, as why you keep going back to it. And then I guess you need a lot of therapy. I don't know. That's what it sounds like, Beabadoobee. I hope you've had therapy. I know not all these songs are about you specifically, but whoever they're about, whether they're about you or anybody, I hope you've had therapy, because it sounds like it's needed. Where you just need to figure out what is actually happening. It could be down to past trauma, things that happen in our childhood absolutely could affect us into our adult years, and we don't always realize it. And sometimes it takes speaking to somebody, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a counselor, or a friend that you can trust, a family member that you can trust. Trust is the important thing there. But if you can speak to somebody that you can speak to, and they won't make any judgments on you, they won't make fun of you, they won't do anything like that, or spread your business around and that kind of thing. Just speak to somebody where you can get these things out of your mind, off of your chest. And as they say, a problem shared is a problem halved. So speak to somebody about it. If you've been through anything like this, speak to somebody. Meditate, pray, do what you need to do to get over it, to have it be in your history, rather than in your present, and not in your future. So and perhaps for Beabadoobee, this is something, her music is something that helps with that. So creativity, absolutely, I feel it's something that can help with dealing with trauma, whether it's writing, poetry, songs, any kind of creativity. It doesn't have to be the traditional forms of creativity that we all kind of know about, singing, this, that, and the other. Any kind of creativity. I actually believe that everybody has some kind of creative outlet, some kind of creative thing within them. It's just that we don't always express it, we don't always seek it. And I think that's part of the shame of society, is that we're not always encouraged to seek our own creativities and our own individualities. And I think part of doing that is part of knowing who you are, and part of knowing why things upset you, not why you might do the things you do that don't seem to make sense in your head, why you keep sabotaging things when you know it's a good thing, why you keep doing these things. And part of getting to know that, I feel, at least, is getting to know who you are. And one of the ways you could do that is being creative, looking for ways to express yourself, looking for ways to just be you, and 100% you, unapologetically you, and using that as a way of dealing with your past and making your present and hopefully your future even better. But anyway, that's what I think of Fake It Flowers by Beabadoobee. Great album, banger, wanger. You already know it's a banger. Definitely check it out, especially if you like the old kind of 90s sounds. Definitely check it out. Let me know what you think of it. If you do, if you listen to it, let me know. And yeah, that's gonna be it for the minute. Oh yeah, recommendations, all that kind of stuff, drop in the comments. But that's gonna be it for the minute. So guys, until whenever, if ever, peace.